Hey everyone, and welcome to week 4. There are a couple of different things that are going to happen this week that are a little bit different from the 3 previous weeks, and so I just kind of wanted to go over that. The number one thing is in discussion, so let's just go ahead and look for the discussion for week 4. So if you go down to week 4, we are doing a peer review of your narrative rough draft. So in your discussion for week 4, there are actually 2 parts to it. I do want you to kind of read over this article because I think it has some really good information about why we actually need revision, even though the topic it sounds a little bit off, but when you read it, you'll understand. And I just want you to say, do you agree with the author's ideas? Why or why not? Do you feel like it's important? In addition to that, I'm getting ahead of myself. There's no word count for that. It's just like what you think about the article, agree, disagree, why or why not. Be specific. Just don't say, I don't agree with it. Well, tell me why you don't agree with it. So in addition, I want you to either copy and paste or upload and link your rough draft of your narrative into this discussion post as well. So make sure you do that by Wednesday. You're responding to that prompt. You're uploading a copy of your paper by Wednesday. By Friday. So this is a shorter turnaround, and that is because I'm going to ask you to peer review your classmates' paper. You only have to respond to 1. Normally during discussions, you do 2. This week, it is just 1. So only thing that you are doing is replying to your classmates' prompt and then answering the following questions about their paper. Does it tell a story about the relationship with literacy? What's one thing that they did really well? What's one thing that could be improved on? If you notice any mechanical errors, if the timeline, if they were trying to do something cool with the timeline, but it's kind of shifting around too much and you can't follow it, maybe mention that there. Did it follow the prompt? And then there's a link to the literacy narrative prompt if you just need a reminder of that. It's also in the content tab. If under prompts, if you need another refresher there. And does it have that good logos? Is it easy to follow and understand? Is it logical? Does it have a logical order? So please respond to those to 1 classmate's paper by Friday night at 11:59 p.m. So instead of 2 peer replies, you only have to do 1 this week. And that's just because it is a little bit more involved. If you have not responded or have had anybody respond to your paper by Friday afternoon, I'll go ahead and peer review it. If I've already peer reviewed someone's, then, but you can go ahead and do it to get your points on that as well. So like if you wait to the last minute and we're doing it Friday at 10:45 p.m. at night and you say, oh, well, everybody's already had a response, just go ahead and, peer review one of the ones that I've responded to as well, just so that way you can get your points in, because I am going to be looking at it. Did you do a peer review as part of your points for this week? So this week, the discussion boards are worth 15 points total, which is different than what it normally is, but that is because a good bit of it is wrapped up in the peer review. If you remember back on the syllabus, your papers are a process, most of them. So for papers that we do a peer review for, you get 5 points for your rough draft, 5 points for participating in the peer review, 5 points for turning it in to me, and then 5 points for your revision. If you don't need any revisions, then you'll get the whole 10 points when I first grade it. So that's why if you go to the Dropbox, sorry, it takes a little while to switch over. Your literacy narrative, if you click on it, it's worth 10 points. That's because it's worth 20 points total, but it's 10 points for the rough draft and the peer review, 10 points for what you turn into me. So if you don't participate in this, the highest you can make is a 50% on your literacy narrative. So just make sure that you are going to participate in that discussion, do your rough draft. It does not have to be a complete paper, guys. Like that's one of the number 1 questions I get is like, oh, do I have to have like a complete paper for my rough draft? No. If it's not complete, that's okay. Try to have at least a page of it, so that way they can have something like some meat to it, so that way they can kind of review it. But if it's not a complete draft, don't worry about that. Just turn in what you have so far. Because you do have a bigger paper due this week, you only have 1 assignment. So make sure that you don't forget your asynchronous assignment for week 4. And then there you also have your literacy narrative there. So guys, and please, again, don't skip out on the discussions, because just taking a quick look at it, like, y'all had great participation in week 1. There were 19 initial replies to the prompt. Then in week 2, it dropped down to 15. And then in week 3, this is Saturday at 4 o'clock, I've only got 11 threads. And so, guys, as I mentioned before, not participating in discussions can cause you to drop an entire letter grade by the end of class. I don't want that to happen to any of you, and I totally understand sometimes we get overwhelmed, we have too much to do. You have to pick and choose. Hey, I just don't feel like I can get all 3 things done this week, so I'm going to skip out on discussions. I get that. You can actually miss like a discussion post in like maybe one of the asynchronous assignments, and your grade will still be okay. But if you do it too often, then it can cause you to lose a letter grade just simply because you haven't done the work. Discussions aren't something you can really go back and make up. Like, once we're past them, we're done. So make sure that you are staying on top of those. So anyway, and y'all had some really, really good thoughts in the week 3 when it came to narrative. I really enjoyed reading your replies to this, and how a lot of you were mentioning. One thing I just really, really point out real quick on the last day in Yemen is the detail. Sometimes students can go a little bit overboard in detail in discussions. I mean, not in discussions, in narratives. And it's a balance, guys. You don't want to be so descriptive that the paper gets bogged down in description. It's the little details that count. There's a phrase called "the devil's in the details." It's not my favorite phrase, but there is some truth to that, in that you notice things. You can bring someone in through the detail that you give, and it doesn't have to be overkill. It can be just a little few details. Like, I love how he mentioned that, the olive green jacket that one of the guys was wearing. What he was drinking, he ordered a cup of coffee. Just little simple things like that really put you in the space that person is in at the time. As I said, does not have to be overkill. Just like little tiny details. Like right now I am sitting in my office. Our office doesn't have a traditional window. It has a skylight. We have got a lovely gray couch sitting in the corner that I love to sit in and read books sometimes if my husband's using our desk area to work. And we have a Lord of the Rings poster on the wall because my husband loves the Lord of the Rings and Tolkien and all things kind of nerdy like that. It's just a few little details, but that kind of gives you an idea of what my office looks like. Not overkill. I mean, I could go into more depths and mention the baby Yoda that we have sitting on a bookshelf in the corner, but just a few little details, just enough to put a foot into the scene without it being bogged down in too many details. So that's just something to kind of be aware of. But yes, I have enjoyed like going through all of your works and finding, and the key to this class, going back to also your asynchronous assignment from last week, is to find what works for you. I know I had you read a fairly lengthy article last week, but because the author was giving just so many different little tidbits of information out there. And that's because part of a college writing class is realizing that what works for me isn't going to work for you, isn't going to work for your classmate. And so it's like kind of giving you all the different tools and bits of information. So hopefully you can find what works for you in this class. And so I do want you to experiment. I want you to experiment with your narratives. I want you to experiment with pre-writing, maybe not pre-writing, like just trying to figure out what your writing process looks like and what is going to be the best options for you moving forward. So that is that. I will probably give you kind of a little update in the middle of the week, just and as a reminder to, maybe get those discussions in if you haven't done it yet. But if you do have any questions or concerns, do not hesitate to reach out. As always, I am here to help you do the best that you can.